most exciting part of gardening for me is actually setting the seeds and seeing what you can germinate. What people find most difficult is the really tiny seeds that you set on the surface of compost, and in particular the watering of them. The easiest way to get the water into the compost is to actually do it before you set the seeds on top of the compost. So use a seed tray and just half fill it with water, and stand your plant pot that you're going to use for your seeds or a tray in there and let it soak up the water until the top of your compost is actually wet. You can see that's now a different colour to that, and it's actually wet. So I'm going to take that out now because it's quite heavy and soaked up the water. If you're sowing seeds at this time of year, you'll find that your compost is cold. Yeah. So what you can do is use tap water, but use lukewarm tap water, so you actually pour in some heat onto the compost to start with, so it'll help warm your compost through. Now I'm going to set these antirrhinum seeds first, and they're actually almost like dust, so they are going to sit on the top. And because they're so small, we don't cover them over, because if you exclude the light they won't germinate. So I'm going to carefully just tap the packet, and just as I'm watching the seeds I can see them rolling down the packet onto the surface of the compost. And I'm just going to make sure I get them all out. There's only about 20 seeds in here, so there's just a couple more seeds. So those seeds are on there now. There's nothing left in the packet. I will label those later. So you don't need to do anything else with that now. All you need to do is to keep it warm. What I'm going to do is use the cheapest propagator known to man, which is a plastic bag, a clear plastic bag. You can just pop that on there. You can put an elastic band around it, just keep it tight, but I tend not to bother. I just sit the plant on it, the pot on it, and that again, if you put that on a warm windowsill every day, just take the bag off. You'll find that it does get condensation in it. Just shake the water out and then pop it back on, and as soon as your seeds germinate you can take the bag off. You don't want to leave the bag on when the seeds are coming through because it'll be too hot. Once it's germinated the seeds, it's done its job, you can remove it. Try not to use the bag again for the same purpose, because the condensation might start to turn into the breeding ground for diseases. But that's that one. So we're going to set some dianthus seeds on this one. Again, because they're quite small and they just need a very fine covering of compost, I've done the same process as I did for the antirrhinum. I've let the compost soak up the water. You can feel that it's sodden with water. It's not dripping out, but it's wet through. They are a little bit bigger, and these just want a very, very fine covering of soil or compost on the top, as you can see. The thing is as well, try and space them out, don't put them all in one corner. If you want, you can mix it with sand. So just get a little pot, put some fine sand in and put your seed in, and then just give it a good mix round. And that just means that you can see where you've put the seed and the sand. It's a visual aid. The other thing is about watering them afterwards, especially with seeds this size, is you'll find that it doesn't matter how hard you try to be careful, the seeds will all wash to one end of the tray, and then they'll all grow in one small area, which is fine. They'll germinate, but they become leggy, and when the seedlings become leggy, they tend to what we call dampen off. And by leggy I mean they just grow tall and spindly. And the stem, once the stem's damaged, because damping off, they tend to go damp down towards the compost and they just fall over, and once that's happened you can't save them. So again, I'm just taking a pinch of seed and just spreading them round. So I'm just going to cover this. You can get a sieve, but even with my grubby hands, all you need to do is just basically shake your hand over the top. You can see the compost nice and fine anyway, and all I'm doing is just spreading a little bit of that compost over the top, and that is just enough for those seedlings. Now you can use other products called vermiculite or perlite, which are like very fine white. It almost looks like there's a bit of it in this compost. It's this little white product here, and all you do is just sprinkle that on top, and that lets the light through because it's sort of translucent, if you like. Like if you were doing sort of succulent plants or maybe rockery plants in a house leeks, maybe in a pot, you can add that to it, and it helps the drainage, as you said. It's really good for that, and it's quite lightweight as well. There's no weight to it, so if you've got a large amount, it's easier for when you're moving things about, which is another plus to it. But it does crush up. Yeah, they're all tiny. Well, that's one of the beauties of them, really. When you think that something so lovely will grow from something so small.